Welcome, everyone. Today on Gracefully Graying, visit our website, gracefullygraying.com, visit our YouTube channel, the Gracefully Graying channel. And today I am very pleased to welcome Andrea Sachs. She is in New York. And she is the publisher of The Insider, which is a digital magazine for people sheltering in place and the world's oldest pandemic magazine. So Andrea, welcome. We are so thrilled to have you on Gracefully Graying.
Thank you. Nice to be
Now, you've been in New York, I know, for quite some time, but you do have roots in the Detroit area. So just tell us a little bit about your background, and then we're going to get into The Insider.
Okay. I grew up in Oak Park. I went to the University of Michigan, where I was an English major. I took a wrong turn and I went to law school in Ann Arbor also. I practiced law for 3.5 years. I got it together and went to journalism school at Columbia and have been a journalist ever since and spent 29 years at Time Magazine.
Okay, that's wonderful. So obviously this is an unprecedented time, and you started this magazine, I think, just over a year ago. You'll fill us in on the exact date when you started it, but tell us how you started The Insider, and what happened when you started this.
I just knew from the minute that the pandemic started that I wanted to write about it and that we were living through history. And at that time, I was working on a master's degree in English, being a perpetual student. And I just realized I had to do journalism, and it's been a collaborative effort between me and a bunch of other people.
And so how do you find these other people? I mean, I know, you have connections all over the place, but tell us about your network of people.
Some of them are even people I went to high school with. Some of them are people I did journalism with. Some of them are people who have come on board afterwards because they've read it or they've known other people who've written. So as there've been articles about the publication, people have come aboard. It's been exciting.
Right. Okay, and the name, The Insider, tell us the nuances about that.
Okay, it has a double meaning. It means you're literally inside. We were all kind of quarantined and sheltered, and also means you're inside the loop, that you're in the know.
Right. And I mean, obviously, your goal is to get this out to a lot of people that are in the same situation, which is pretty much everybody, no matter what your age. Is there a certain demographic that you're targeting?
All readers we want.
All readers.
But
okay.
Some of my friends tend to be older, the ones I went to high school with, certainly.
Okay.
So have from all different demographics, I would say.
And so I know you have a lot of great categories. You have some guest writers, you have, you touch on recipes, you touch on politics, you touch on, what's new and trending. So tell us about your content.
Well, lately we've been in the vaccine arena because that's what people are talking about, thinking about. At first, we ran, I'd like to think, a great story by a couple of Wayne State professors who had been in vaccine trials. And some of our stories were the frustrations of people trying to get vaccines, and now about their experience going through it. We just published a story about somebody who got their vaccines at the Javits Center, which is the huge convention center here, and it worked like clockwork. Whereas I wrote about having mine in the church and aisle at the wellness pharmacy, where it was pure chaos. And
when did you get yours?
In that first one in February.
Okay. Okay. And how things have changed over the next few months, and just the rollout is so much easier now. So your goals in publishing the Insider, I mean, it's obviously to, provide content to readers, kind of another outlet for people. But so what are your main goals? I mean, and currently what?
I would say certainly exploring the pandemic journalistically. Personally, I've loved doing the journalism, and I've loved working with a lot of good writers.
Mhm.
Some, and this is a slightly different role for me. When I was at Time, I was reporting and writing more. This is a lot of editing and assigning and working with people on their stories as well as doing my own, which has been interesting. And also, it's been very interesting to me. I spent all of those years as a print journalist,
Mhm.
and this has been an interesting exploration of online for me.
Right, right. From,
Medium.
yeah. I mean, obviously Time, I mean, I grew up with Time magazine, you either got Time or you got Newsweek in your house. In fact, when I got married, we switched to Newsweek. Right? I know, but everybody probably has that story. So you going from, pure print and being the reporter and writing, using your craft and your excellent writing skills, to now you're like running the back end of a digital publication. So as you just said, I mean, that's very different. So the intricacies of that, and it's more complicated in some respect. So explain that.
I work with a wonderful web consultant whose name is Matt Nadelson. And for many, many months, we never met. It was all remote. We have met since then.
Is he in New York?
He's in New York, yes, but not on the Upper West Side.
Uh-huh.
And he's really taught me a lot about the potentials of working online, about pictures. And one of the things that still tickles me is if you made a mistake in print, it was forever. If your magazine goofed, and if you were responsible for that goof, you were in the doghouse. And it's not like that now, because it can be changed in 10 seconds after publication. So
Right.
I like that one.
Right. Kind of like, back in the day when people used whiteout to make corrections on their paper. I mean, yes, it's instantaneous now for sure. So, one of the topics, I mean, have you covered COVID from a medical perspective? I mean, have you had a lot of medical professionals kind of, weighing in on this?
Some, as far as the vaccines, I would, and the illness more originally than the nuances of that. But I would say more from a psychological, professionally, there are a couple of psychiatrists and psychologists who've written really good things. So that's been, I think people are very interested in reading that right now. This week's cover story, which we're about to change later today, but is about the adjustment now that people are not as sheltered, and that people feel a certain amount of anxiety about returning to normal life because they don't know where it's yet.
And what's comfortable. And obviously you're living in a very urban area, big city. There are many more people around than in the suburbs or, rural. I mean, so it's a different ball game for you.
Very nervous making here. This was the epicenter.
Right. But, your content really aims at, I mean, a lot of it is you could be anywhere, and people relate to your stories, whether they're more human interest stories or what people have done or how they've dealt with it. Talk about that. I mean, when you're getting content and you have people submitting articles, I I mean, what's that process like?
That's an interesting one. To some degree, I'm generating them, and to some degree, interesting things have come in over the transom. I've really discovered there are a lot of people who've written for us who are not professional journalists, who are just people who are good writers, who like writing and bring in different perspectives from their own backgrounds about returning to work and that sort of thing. Now, that's been very gratifying, seeing people kind of blossom as writers who weren't doing it professionally. Some people are very talented.
Right. So, you're kind of on the other side of that coin now, where you're the editor and you are, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I know you've mentioned it, but you're enjoying that. It kind of opens up a whole new world for you.
I'm thrilled with this. I've enjoyed every bit of it. Well, not every single aggravation of it, but I've had a good time doing this. Yes.
And to maybe some of your not to make a generalization, but do you find that people are pretty good with being able to find you? And maybe if some of your demographics are older, even though you cater to really all ages, there is kind of a digital. How do I say this? People are maybe not as adept as getting online or finding you. I mean, how are you? Is it just kind of organic or what?
Give the address if anybody wants to find us. theinsider1.com. Got to remember that one.
Right.
And we just ran a story about a 76-year-old gay bride, so people are coming to us at all different ages.
Yeah. Okay. And then you've got some political comment and commentary.
Yes. We have a Washington columnist called, the column is called Washington Whispers. And Jesse Siegel is a lawyer and writer who lives there. So it's very exciting to have somebody on the ground there.
Okay. And do they contribute every week?
Yes, that's a weekly column.
Okay.
For her.
And, like similar to Gracefully Graying, as we are providing content on a regular basis, similar to you, it's not always easy, and you have to kind of keep the flow going. Do you find you have a constant backlog of content that you're putting up and you've got a schedule for that?
Sometimes it's a little seat of the pants, but you always get the issue out. There are certain things, I guess in journalism, you would call them evergreens. There are things that can be held from week to week. And there are certainly things, I will reach out to somebody who I know is interested in a particular event the week that there's news. And sometimes the news just presents itself.
Right.
Like Matt Gaetz in Washington, the scandal king. How could we not write about that?
How could you not? Right. Okay. Okay. So some of your more interesting columns, just share with us a few of maybe the stranger ones or the ones that surprised you.
Well, one of the edgiest things, every once in a while somebody scares me as the editor, is like, can we publish this? It turned out to be really good, but the title of it was Sitting Shiva for the Souls of Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley, because feeling that they had sold their souls to the devil. And one thing, coming from mainstream journalism, I would say non-writers sometimes would like to call people names, and you can't do that. It's like you're not going to describe somebody as a moron. You're going to prove that they are a moron by what you wrote. But
Okay. you have people subscribe to your magazine. They can still read it if they don't subscribe. Tell us about your business model, so to speak.
Yes, you can get a free subscription online on our website, and that way you get the issue sent to you every week. You can also um, go on the site and read it. Comes out on Wednesdays, but there's always content up there from the previous week, and it's not a big money maker. I always joke that we're like the little engine that could, not the New York Times.
Right.
Um,
Right. And are there any other publications, digital publications popping up, or are you it, Andrea?
Pandemic, I haven't heard it yet. I'm not eager to, but I haven't heard of anyone else doing the same thing. That's why we advertise ourselves as the oldest pandemic magazine at our anniversary of 1 year.
Right, exactly.
I'm not aware of anybody else doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So as people are getting out and the country is opening up and people are getting vaccinated, and what's the future of it? I mean, obviously this is going to go on and on for a while, not to the extent that it was 6 months ago, but what's your vision for the future?
I think that's a great question. And a lot of people have asked me that. I think that it has a natural life cycle. I'm not going to prolong this as a pandemic publication beyond the pandemic. I mean, I'll go off and write a book, but I don't think this is going to be over anytime soon. I think that unfortunately, I think this is going to be with us for a while. And I think that there's a readjustment period going on even now. It's going to be a long time before we're sitting in a stadium with 100,000 people feeling comfortable.
Right. Like the days of sitting at Michigan Stadium.
Exactly.
With 111,000 people, your best friends. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, as a lot of things are changing and the way we're doing things are becoming maybe more permanently different than before COVID, I would venture to guess that you could keep going for a while and just keep tapping on, how is your life a little different? And it's going to be different in a lot of aspects.
We've written a lot about people liking working remotely and the benefits of that, the surprise silver lining of the pandemic, and there have also, believe me, been many negative sides. I mean, we've written very sad articles too about people who died, and there's been a thumbs down about remote learning. We ran a cover story that was quite well read by a teacher in Seattle who thinks it stinks. She really does not like teaching remotely, and she doesn't think her kids are learning enough.
Right. So, yeah, that's kind of a universal thought. I'm interested in the cover. You've got a famous painting with a mask on. Describe the cover of The Insider.
Oh, it's Mona Lisa with a mask on. Yeah. I found that right at the very beginning, and it just spoke to me. I thought it was really funny and emblematic of the whole enterprise. She has, of course, the historic mystery about her and kind of like a smile, and it just appealed to me. Yeah, so my business card too. I love that image.
Yeah, it's kind of appropriate that she has a mask on to kind of add to the mystery of her, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So, okay. So tell us about, are there any tips that you can give to viewers as far as, finding content, staying involved in things, because you kind of have your finger on the pulse of, the culture. And
I would like to invite your viewers to become not only subscribers, but if there are people out there who are interested in writing and enjoy writing, come and see us.
Okay.
My big takeaway, I would guess, from everything I've done in my life is to enjoy what you're doing, to do work that you like. I did work I didn't like as a lawyer, and I shifted over, and I've had a happy career because of it. And if people still have that bug that they like to write, this is the moment.
Yeah. And you alluded to this earlier. You were in the midst of, like, a year and a half ago, right? Getting another advanced degree in writing?
Yes, I was writing a thesis on Ralph Ellison, who wrote The Invisible Man, and Richard Wright, who wrote Native Son. And I walked away. I'm a grad school dropout right now because as soon as this happened, it just returned me my interest in current events, really.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that you'll go back to that?
No,
No. Okay.
no, I'm back. There were things about academic English that didn't appeal to me as much as I thought they were going to.
Mm-hmm.
It can be the death of prose. I don't always like the writing, so.
Okay. So any frustrations with the Insider? I mean, you don't have to spill your beans, Andrea, but are there any things like, obviously you are a year into.
What's been a frustration for me?
What's that?
A Trump supporter out there who would like to talk with me. I'd like to talk with them because I have found it absolutely impossible to find anybody very conservative to interview. They won't talk to us. I would say that the publication probably had more of a liberal slant, but I talked to other people in the media who have this. There's a distrust. And I would give somebody a fair platform if they want to come forward and talk.
Sure.
That people were running a big story this week about anti-vaxxers. I'd love to talk to one. Not that easy to do, not that easy to find people who will do that.
Right. But I guess, we have to start somewhere, and by having discussion.
I think it's absolutely to air this.
Yeah.
We've written a lot about topics. We've written a lot about the other side. We ran a big interview with somebody whose family is a Trump family who said they're dead to me now. Where there's been 100% estrangement in the family because of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Trump in many ways hung over this year, and I still remain interested in what's going on right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, any short takeaways that you can give to to viewers? Because we are of similar demographics, although anyone can read both of our platforms, obviously. But what are some takeaways that you can give to the, say, 50 and over viewership?
To keep enjoying what you're doing, for me, it's literature and writing and journalism. And I've never thought of myself as having retired, but I was not doing journalism, and I'm back in it now. So who knows, and I'm happy doing more of it. So I don't think there's any need to hang up your hat.
Yeah. Well, you're lucky that you can do what you love to do, and you've had a great career. And you're lucky that you can kind of dive into this wonderful, I don't want to call it a project, it's a business, it's your passion. But I think it's great. Yeah. Are you on social media a lot? Tell us about your presence on social media, because that's a big part of this.
Well, maybe on Facebook, yes. I have to admit that I'm a little bit of a little more uncertain about Twitter, for example, but a lot of Facebook, and I post the stories and stuff, and we get a lot of response. Yeah. And we get readers from who knows where. We have a faithful reader in Ho Chi Minh City. So Who knows where I would like to meet that person.
Right. Well, that's the beauty of the internet, that you could reach really anybody,
Absolutely.
right? And we're not lying here. I mean, I would venture to guess that your readership, the 50, 60, 70 plus demographic is more on Facebook than they are on other platforms.
That's probably true, yes.
Yeah. So then, that's a great tool for you. Yeah. So, well, our time is up, unfortunately, but I love what you're doing. I think it's great. I think there's a lot of synergy here. I really encourage our viewers to take a look at the Insider. You've got a lot of great content, and, some of it's funny, some of it's heartfelt. I mean, it's all heartfelt, but, you've got a whole slew of different content areas that you touch on that I think are really interesting. And I would encourage people to look at it. So remind us again of the website.
Okay. People can find us at theinsider1.com.
ONE.
No, one, the
Number one.
Yes,
Okay.
theinsider1.com.
Right. Okay.
And
Good.
they can write to me. There's an address at the bottom of it, the editorial address, so people can write to me if they have any questions or if they're interested in writing.
Okay, great. Well, Andrea, it was so great to talk to you. We love what you're doing. Keep up your good work. And to our viewers on Gracefully Graying, keep looking at our channel on YouTube and visit our website, gracefullygraying.com. And again, we're so glad to have you. And we look forward to the synergy between us.
Thank you.
Thanks.